This is Alexandre Palace, home to the birth of television and the recording of television signals.
Back in the early days of television, if you missed a programme that you wanted to watch, then it was tough luck. There was no repeats, there was no videos or DVDs, there was no iPlayer, even the television companies had no means of recording their programmes. The lack of any recording facility meant that all television had to be performed and transmitted live. But its general statement disguises the ingenuity of the early pioneers of television. This is part of broadcast from 1934. It is television, but not as we know it. Bird's original 30-line system was recorded by him on a wax disc, what we call a vinyl record. So why was this method not developed? Because although Bird could put video signal onto discs, he could not get the signal off the disc in a form which was able to be broadcast. It is now with computer technology that these pictures can be shown. Even greater problems arose. With the move of the electronic EMI 405-line signal, because the bandwidth was so large, the wax disc I did was a non-starter. Radio had been recorded on a magnetic tape for years, but couldn't cope with the bandwidth. So cinefilm was used. An 8mm film camera was placed in front of a monitor and the picture was recorded. Cinefilm was further developed after the war and generally worked well. A film camera recorded the broadcast which played back on screen, which a television camera transmitted. It was not until April 1958, over 25 years after the first television broadcast, that the first UK videotape programme was transmitted. But this was not like videotape as we know it. The tape was 5 centimetres wide and travelled at 60 metres per second. The video recorders cost over £50,000, which was a huge cost in those days, and the metal tape was just as expensive. But soon, spinning recording heads meant the tape speed could be reduced and the programmes began to be regularly recorded on tape. During the 1960s, many programmes were recorded on tape, but the price of tape was still a problem, and many broadcasters, including the BBC, wiped out the tape so that they could be used again. In the early 1970s, as colour was introduced to programmes, again the wiping process continued, meaning that many black and white treasures were lost. Now, most of broadcasters keep their copies of the transmissions, but it has taken almost 20 years and the birth of cable television for broadcasters to realise what they have done. Now many attempt to retrieve or reproduce lost programmes. On that thought, back to studio.